Betrayed by his home, reborn as the son of a devil queen. Hello everyone. Welcome to What If Naruto Was Betrayed and Was Reborn as Child of Serafall Leviathan movie. Before we start, please go support Gabriel Casus 545 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Naruto is a male. The trail is what Uzumaki Naruto suffered after the mission to recover Sasuke, where when bringing him Naruto was imprisoned and after a few days he was killed. But thanks to certain gods, he will be given the opportunity to reincarnate as a demon like what Konoha catalogued him, only to search for the heads of those who betrayed him and to tear apart and bring chaos to his enemies. Chapter 1. The Betrayal of a Home and Rebirth in a New World. Currently in the Valley of the End, a 12-year-old Naruto Uzumaki was battling with Acha Sasuke, the last loyal Aka. Supposedly they were fighting since the Ichar ran away from Konoha to go with a Snake-san and Rajimu, a rogue ninja of Shrank from Koa. Both Naruto and Sasuke were battling for a long time. Although Naruto was holding back until both used their most powerful techniques. Sasuke with the Chidori and Naruto with the Rin. Both genin clashed their techniques, causing a gigantic explosion, making both of them fly. After a few seconds, Naruto got up in pain and could see an unconscious Sasuke. So he smiled and went to his teammate to take him to Konoha and carry out the recovery mission. But I already caught the stupid ache now to go to Koa, said Naruto with a small smile and sighing, since he had to hold back a lot with the weak Akia. Let's hope everything goes well, puppy. I have a very bad feeling, said Kurama seriously. Naruto frowned as he too had a bad feeling, but he continued anyway and went towards Konoha, just hoping that nothing bad would happen. After a couple of hours carrying the idiot Sasuke, they arrived at Konoha, where at the gate was the Hogue Tsunade Senju Sambu Kakashi Haddock and some of the rookies who did not go on the mission to recover the Akoka. Which impressed him a little, since he did not think that so many people would be waiting at the gate, but he shrugged. Kashi-sensei son Bakan Sakura-chan, as I promised, I brought Sasuke team with us. The mission is complete, said Naruto with joy, since he kept his promise and brought Sasuke as he told his friends and as he promised Sakura. But the joy went away when he heard a voice say that he did not recognize Uzumaki. Naruto, you are under arrest for hurting the last loyal ache. Your sentence will be decided later by the council. This voice was from Danzo Shimura, one of the 3 elders of Konoha. But I fulfilled the mission. Sasuke, he dealt to kill me. They can't stop me from fulfilling the recovery mission. Naruto shouted with his face full of betrayal, since he kept his promise and so they treat him like garbage, like something that had no value, and that enraged him like never before, since he trusted Konoha, and that's how they pay him. Anu takes Uzumaki Naruto to detention. He is arrested for hurting the Aka, roared Sun 8 the Gotham Hogue angrily. After the Hogue said that for Anbu grabbed a blonde-haired boy and took him to the detention room to decide his future. Are you sure about what we are going to do? Hogue-sama saw the copy ninja and responded in a serious manner. If Kakashi Naruto is a danger, look how he left the ache. It's time for him to learn his lesson. Now I will go to the council to decide his sentence. Kakashi nodded in understanding, knowing well that because of the Kyuubi Naruto was a danger, and for Kakashi Naruto was the one to blame for Minato and Kasha's deaths. So he didn't care what happened to him. He may have been his student, but he expected to be killed on his first mission or in the Junin exams. But now he was somewhat happy with the punishment they would give Naruto. After Naruto was taken to imprisonment, the rookies who were at the gate of Konoha were talking bad about Naruto and saying what a loser the blonde was. All of this was seen by a brown-haired girl of approximately 14 years old. This girl was Ukumo Kurama, who frowned at everything they said about her friend since she considered Naruto her friend since she saved her and could now control Ito being one with this being by merging their consciousnesses. She hated how the village treated her best friend and promised herself to get stronger to support Naruto, her best friend. She knew that he was the genie of the Kyuubi, but that did not matter to her in the least, since for her Naruto was one of the best people she ever met. So she took a deep breath and went to her complex. She could not do anything. She was still weak to do anything. She just hoped that Naruto would not be punished so severely. She knew that her punishment was an injustice, but she could not do anything since she was a simple civilian. Besides, nobody knew that she was in Konoha, thinking that she escaped or died, which she didn't, since she is in a Jinjutsu that changes her appearance similar to Tsunade. And only a few people could see through her Jinjutsu, one of them being a Chiyodachi. Luckily, he wasn't in Konoha. An hour later, Naruto was in a cell with his head down. He neither screamed nor cried. That was strange for the shinobi guarding him, but they dismissed it. They assumed he was in shock. But what they didn't know was that Naruto was talking inside his mind with a great Kyuubi, also known as Kurama, the nine-tailed Biju, and the strongest of the nine. You see, Naruto knew that Konoha would betray you. That idiot Toad wasn't even with you, much less the idiot you had for a sensei. And not even the godmother you had as Hogue. You know very well, Naruto, that they are trash, roared the nine-tailed Boo, angry with his container. He loved Naruto like a brother. Hell, he adored him. He was his only precious person besides his Biju brothers. But he hated that sometimes he is so innocent. Lose Kurama. I know what the bastards are going to do. They think I'm an idiot. They think I'm weak. But I'm not. Most likely they will banish me or execute me. Naruto replied with a frown. Since he always faked his idiotic personality so that they wouldn't see him as a threat. He always wanted to be friends with everyone, he wanted to gain everyone's trust, but that he wanted to be the Hogue despite all the mistreatment he had in the village. The only one who knew what he was really like is Yakumo, the former heir of the Kurama clan, specialist in Jinjutsu, and his best friend, and Kurama his brother and battle partner. Not even the Hoger, the crazy stalker Hyuga that he had that. Although he didn't hate her, it made him somewhat uncomfortable since she kept seeing him and following him, and that made her somewhat afraid. Their puppy. He told you that we should have left this village several years ago. You know well that everyone hates you or is indifferent to you. The only one I could feel feelings of appreciation and affection for you is Yakumo-sen, who everyone thinks was dead. And, well, there is also the crazy Haya. Not even Iruka was loyal to you. Since you know well that the Sandaime Hogue sent him to form a bond with you so that you do not betray the village. Even that family from the ramen stand charged you more and even served you poisoned ramen. And if it weren't for me, you would have died several times because of them, said Kurama with a frown and anger, remembering that stupid family that gave poison food to Naruto. Naruto sighed and looked at his friend Bara, adoptive brother, and replied, Lose Kurama. I should have escaped. I know I'm strong, but I couldn't fight against the entire village. Maybe I could fight on par with the old witch and Jera at the same time. But I know I'm not powerful enough to take on several Jan in an ambush at once. God. I should have escaped from this pathetic place years ago. If I had the chance, I would. And I would take Yakumo-chan from this pathetic place. We can help you with whatever you want, child of the prophecy, said three voices at once. Both Naruto and Kurama were startled upon hearing those voices. They were supposed to be in the mind No one could enter unless perhaps a Yamanaka. But not even they could do that with Naruto's mental defenses without them noticing. Who are you? What are you doing in my puppy's mind? Roared Kurama, filtering as much killing intent as he could to scare the individuals who entered Naruto's mind, since he would not allow them to harm Naruto before he died than to let them harm Naruto. Wow, your killing intention is very powerful. You are definitely powerful, Kobe said, one of which radiated an aura full of life and happiness. Abi and Naruto narrowed their eyes but did nothing and watched the individuals cautiously. If you are definitely a powerful nine-tailed Biju, said a man who radiated an amount of power equal to that of the woman. Indeed, he is very strong. Obviously, you don't have as much power as us, but powerful enough to defeat any being in this dimension except Jubi, the fool Haguro. Hammer and Kagaya, said a man who was all dressed in black, who radiated a power comparable to that of the woman and the man before. At those names, Kurama opened his eyes in shock, since these beings knew his father and uncle and his father's mother, grandmother, Kagaya, in addition to knowing the Jubi, a beast of destruction. But he was also somewhat angry because that being called his father an idiot. Who are you? Can't you be normal if you know father? Kurama asked with curiosity and caution. The three beings looked at Kurama and Naruto and responded at the same time, well, we are gods, or to be more specific, we are primordial gods, beings above the gods. We rule not one but several dimensions, and we watch over the beings in them. We see that everything goes according to plan. At that, Kurama and Naruto turned pale. Before them were three primordial gods. Kurama was worse than Naruto, since his father mentioned to him that the primordial gods were beings of unimaginable power to such an extent that not even his mother Kagaya messed with them for fear of being killed. What do the gods want with me and my brother? Naruto asked with caution in his voice, since the gods coming to see him was strange. Well, young Naruto, first let me introduce myself. I am Kami, primordial goddess of life. It is a pleasure to meet the child of the prophecy, said a beautiful woman who looked about 21 years old. I say the same. I am Yami, god of chaos and order, said a man who appeared to be 22 years old. Likewise, although we already know each other, it is a pleasure to see you, Naruto. I am Shinigami, god of death, said the man, dressed in black with a dead voice, but with a half smile that made him look about 25 years old. At that, both Kurama and Naruto opened their eyes in surprise, especially Kurama, since he had heard from his father about the primordials, but there were three that stood out above all. They were the pinnacle of power, and these were Yami, Shinigami, and Kami. So, he broke into a cold sweat. He did not want to anger the three strongest primordial deities. Well, what do such strong beings want with me? Naruto asked, curious to see three such high-level beings interested in him, a rare thing in his opinion. Nothing. We are just surprised that they locked you up, child of the prophecy. Since you were supposed to come to be the savior of this dimension. You were going to be the child who united all the shinobi villages. But everything went to __ when they sent you to bring the transmigrant from Indra. You were not supposed to complete that mission, but you did. Yami replied with a sigh of tiredness for the change of events that should have happened. Indeed. But despite that, we thought that the village would treat you better for bringing back the last ache. But we were wrong, said Shinigami with a frown upon seeing what they did to Naruto for bringing the foolish ache. We know what will happen. They will try to execute you so that the Kalobi dies once and for all, said Kami sadly, since with the death of the child of the prophecy in a couple of years this entire dimension would be destroyed by the return of the Jubi and Kagaya. So we want to make you a proposal, Uzumaki Naruto, said Yami calmly. Following what Yami said, both Naruto and Kurama looked curious to see what these three powerful beings wanted to offer them. The three primordials, seeing that they caught the attention of the nine-tailed Biju and Naruto, the child of the prophecy. So they continued. What we want to propose to you is that you be reborn in another dimension. We have seen your life and well, we feel bad that the chosen one had to live like this. So we want to give you a new opportunity. You say you can go to another dimension, have a family, someone to love, said Kami, calmly and with some happiness. At that, Naruto and Kurama looked surprised by such a proposal. And what do you gain by sending me to another dimension? Naruto asked with some curiosity and suspicion. The gods saw each other and sighed. You see, Naruto, in that dimension there are three very powerful entities. One of these entities only stops in its house. It flies without harming anyone in the dimensional gap. This being called Great Red in power. It is superior to a being like the Jubi. The second entity wants to vote for the first because it thinks it has invaded its house. This is Office the Dragon of Infinity. The very powerful being, also superior to that of the Jubi and but weaker than Great Red and in turn stronger than your Konoha. And the third being is sealed. This being is the most dangerous of the three, since this being only wants chaos and destruction. According to what I could see, it may be this one on par with Great Red. This is 666, or also called Trisha. What we want is that it is not released, but that entire dimension will be chaos. But if it is released, what we want is for you to become powerful enough to confront it and destroy it. But if it is not possible, at least seal it again when it is free, said Yami. Abi opened his eyes in shock and disbelief, knowing that there were three entities superior to the Jubi, something that impressed him and almost gave him a heart attack, since the Jubi was a being of immense power that even the Rakuto would have problems dealing with. That beast. And why don't you destroy it? Naruto asked curiously. The gods mad and Shinigami said, look, young man, we can't intervene like that. There are divine rules. As long as they don't attack us, we won't do anything. But what we can do is choose a champion who can bring peace, or at least destroy or seal the threat that is coming. The Rudo nodded in acknowledgement and answered, fine, if I accept that I will win. And where exactly I will be reborn? The gods met and Kami spoke well. We will give you some gifts, and gifts which will help you and considerably increase your base power. You will be reborn as a demon from a high-ranking noble family. At that, Naruto and Kurama raised an eyebrow in curiosity. And why will my cub be reborn as a demon? For some particular reason? Kurama asked curiously. At that, Yami stepped forward and said, there is no particular reason. We just think you will be more comfortable this way, since if you are reborn as an angel, you would not have the same freedoms as a demon. You will follow fewer rules. But I think they will be easier for you to follow. At that, Kurama and Naruto nodded in understanding. Well then, you agree to be reborn as a young demon. Uzumaki. Naruto. The blonde-haired boy saw Kurama the fox, smiled at him, and Naruto looked at the gods and said, I have no other choice, because if I say no, I will be executed by the Koen ninjas. But if I say yes, I will be reborn, and I know that I will return to the elemental nations, and all those who betrayed me and harmed me will pay with blood. The three primordials sighed. They knew that the blonde would not forget Konoha's betrayal, the treatment he had since he was a child, and would seek revenge. They knew he would get it, and they also knew that they could not make him change his mind. So, they nodded at what Naruto said. But Kami had sad eyes, since his champion, his chosen one, the child of the prophecy, now wanted revenge against those who betrayed him and deceived him. He did not blame him. He knew The Konoha was a dark place and deserved what would happen to him in the future. But, seeing such a kind being with such a strong will seek revenge hurt him like nothing else. Especially since the being who would seek revenge was the child of the prophecy, the one who should seek peace in the ninja world. Meanwhile, in the council chambers of Konoha, the Hogue Jiraiya who had just arrived in Konoha, the civilian council, the elders, and the clan leaders were in a very important meeting deciding the fate of Uzumaki Naruto for his crimes again. Saint the Well. We are here to decide what to do with him. Jinch Criy said the Gotham Hogue calmly execute him. Shouted all the civilians seal his chakra said some clan leaders. Tsunade thinks carefully who wants Naruto to be executed. Before that all the civilians, the elders of the council and the majority of clan leaders raised their hands. Well then the execution today in an hour at last the Konoha will be gone forever said the Hogue with a half smile. Everyone smiled since they had lost a family member or friend in the Konoha attack and they blamed Naruto for what happened for them. Naruto was the demon. Anu, I want you to go where the demon Brad is imprisoned and bring him to me. It's time to put an end to him, said Tsunade with a half smile. The Anbu nodded at their Hogue order. When all the clan leaders and civilians left, that's when everyone left. Jiraiya spoke. Are you completely sure of what you're going to do? Tsunade him by executing Naruto the Ginch Criy being a big part of our military force for having the Kale. Tsunade saw her teammate and sighed and replied to the Toad Sage Jera. You know as well as I do that he has no talent. The only thing he has is the Konoha. I know that. You also want to get rid of it since you blame the brat for Minato's death just like I blame him for Kush's death. Jera frowned and replied, fine, execute the demon brat. I just hope this doesn't bite us in the ass later. Tsunade scoffed. Not even that. Brat was that important. Jera is just a genin and the last of his generation to die. No. One will miss him. You know as well as I do that the whole village hates him. Even Iruka hates him. He was only with a boy by order of the Sandaime Hogue to keep him loyal to Konoha. Since if he had no attachment to the village, he could desert and we would lose the Konoha and he could easily join another village or be captured and the Konoha's power would be used against us and you know well that would be __ for us. Nodded but he had a bad feeling. The Toad Sage knew that something bad would happen when he executed the Ginchi Uzumaki Naruto. He just prayed to Kami that after doing this, nothing bad would happen to the village. But Naruto, he continued talking to the primordial deities. Well, Naruto, you already know that your soul is reincarnated. So, Akami will give you the power to use light and endure and powers of regeneration and healing accelerated to such an extent that you can even regenerate a limb. You can become a man of light with time train this element. Well, in addition to those eyes that have the Renegan evolve it to Renegan, the most powerful version of those eyes take advantage of my blessing child. At these abilities, both Naruto and Kurama opened their eyes in surprise, but smiling internally. That power would be beneficial. Bal next said Shinigami with a somewhat dead voice. I will give you the power of darkness manipulation and the powers of Ryotsu manipulation as well as the knowledge of how to use it. And finally, I will give you Kurama the rest of your power, which the Yandame possesses and an extra gift so that you protect Naruto. After saying that, the Shinigami takes out a red energy ball and a white ball which he threw towards Kurama, causing him to grow and greatly increase his power and changing his fur from orange to white with red. The Konoha roared with joy at finally being complete, but looked at himself again and saw the changes. He realized that not only was he complete, but now he was much stronger if he calculated well. He may be 2 or maybe 3 times more powerful. When the Biju calmed down, he looked at the Shinigami and said, because you made me stronger. Shinigami-sama, asked Kurama, curious and somewhat surprised that a god gives him more power. At that, the Shinigami looked at the Kyobi and replied, you may be strong, but in the world I will send them there will be stronger beings. So increase your power and train Kyobi well and become more powerful. You have the potential to surpass even the Jubi. At that, Kurama looked at Naruto and then at the Shinigami and said, thank you for giving me back my power and making me much stronger. The Shinigami nodded with a small smile on his face. But I am the last one. Ayami, I will give you 2 summoning contracts. The first is the phoenix. The second contract is the wolf. Each one powerful its own right. Use them well, young champion. At that, Naruto nodded. Very surprised that such types of summoning contracts existed, but he recovered easily. And how are they going to take me to that dimension to be reborn? Naruto asked curiously. We will simply take your soul and you will be reborn again in a family that will take care of you or at least not harm you. You will be a noble in another dimension, Yami said simply. Naruto nodded and said, I can leave a blood clone along with a small portion of my soul. I want to know what exactly Konoha will do to me, and depending on what they do to me, will decide the fate of the village. If they don't harm me, I won't come and burn Konoha. But if they do something bad to my blood clone, I will destroy it and burn this pathetic village to the ground. The gods looked unsure, but sighed. They knew that Konoha would do terrible things to Naruto. And they knew that when the blood clone with a portion of their champion soul dissipated, everything that had happened would return to Naruto and he would want blood from the entire Leaf Village. But they still complied with his request by making a blood clone with a small part of his soul and sending Naruto and Kurama's soul to another dimension to be reborn in a family of demons. They only hope that those demons would protect her. What do you think will happen? Asked Kami. What Naruto-san does will be interesting. I know that at some point he will find out how to return to Konoha and he will destroy it or at least finish off all those who hurt him. He is a being of great light and at the same time great darkness, said Yami calmly. The other 2 primordial gods nodded, knowing well that their champion was not only a being of light but of great darkness. 2 hours later and Naruto could be seen on a cross in the center of the village. The blonde had a downcast look, but with a small smile imperceptible to everyone except for a young Yakumo who looked at him with sadness and bewilderment since he had a smile on his face. And that was the strange thing. But she assumed that Naruto had a plan. Okay, people of Konoha. We are here for the execution of Uzumaki Naruto. We are here to get rid of Kyobi for hurting us and for hurting the last and his last mission. Roared Tsunade the Gotham. Hogue. All the villagers and ninjas roared in approval. Naruto looked at them all impassively without saying anything until Tsunade ordered her ninja to light the cross in which Naruto was to burn it. The ninjas did that and set fire to the cross, causing the cross and the blonde to burn little by little. Naruto did not scream but smiled. That baffled Sun ate the clan leaders to the civilian council and all the ninjas and civilians of Konoha until Naruto spoke and said, I knew you betrayed me and will execute me. It's a shame I can't kill you all now. So wait, Konoha, soon I use Uzumaki Namakas. Naruto will return even if I have to return from hell to kill you. I will destroy you. This is a see you soon Konoha. I will destroy you and I will return for you too and my dear friend. The last thing she whispered, but Yukumaru read her lips and smiled, and Naruto continued with his monologue and said, but before I die I will not leave alone. At least I'll take some of you after. Naruto said that. He smiled wildly and bit his lip, causing him to explode, causing the dozens of Anbu who were with a Hogue to die or come out severely burned. The Hogue came out with several burns on her body and face that were barely healing, thanks to the Byaku no Jutsu that she possessed. What Naruto said and did shocked everyone in Konoha, especially when Naruto revealed his real name. He was not Uzumaki Naruto. He was Uzumaki Namakus Naruto, the son of the Yandame Hogue Minato Namakus and Kasha Uzumaki, the princess of the Whirlpool. Meanwhile, in the underworld in the Citri mansion, Lady Citri was walking calmly until suddenly Angela Citri felt dizzy without knowing why and suddenly fainted, worrying her husband and the Leviathan Serafall who was in the house. What none of them knew is that a new life was forming in Lady Citri, one that will change the course of all supernatural beings. Currently, the Citri family was at the doctors in the underworld where both Lord Citri and Serafall were worried about Angela Citri since the fainting was rare for them and that alarmed them. Both were waiting for the doctor to find out what exactly happened until after waiting so long, the doctor appeared. Dr. Lord Citri Serafall Sama has no reason to worry about Lady Citri. She is perfectly fine. What she has is something amazing and good for the entire underworld. Since Lady Citri is pregnant, congratulations. You will have a new member in your family. Serafall and Lord Citri opened their mouths in disbelief as they did not think that Anna was pregnant since there was little chance that a demon would get pregnant and that Angela after just over a year became pregnant was a miracle and both were happy. Lord Citri just hoped it was a boy. He was not hexisted or anything. He loved his daughters but now he wanted a boy to teach everything he knows. Currently in the underworld, Lady Citri was giving birth to her third child, which was rare for demons since they gave birth every decades or hundreds of years. But this third child that she would only give it after a little less than 2 years after giving birth to her daughter Sona Citri. This would be her first male child. The news that Lady Citri, also known as Angela Citri, was pregnant, shocked the entire underworld since it was rare, if not impossible for a demon to give birth to another child after almost 2 years. That was almost impossible. Something that never happened, so it made the underworld happy to have another pure-blooded demon. The doctors were helping Angela Citri give birth. The poor devil woman was screaming and screaming, looking quite angrily at her husband, Lord Citri, also called Marco Citri, who was sweating a lot from the penetrating gaze of his wife. Marcos, you will never get me pregnant again. Look how I am. You know how difficult it is to give birth. Angela Citri shouted angrily. Marcos nodded, afraid of his wife's wrath. Calm down. Lady Citri breathed and pushed. Please. The child is coming. Lady Citri looked at the doctor with controlled rage, but obeyed the order after a couple of minutes. A black-haired man with blue eyes like the sky. That gave off an aura of a very powerful thing that stunned everyone because of the power that the child gave off. This child who came out was the reborn Uzumaki. Namke is Naruto now. Naruto Citri. Lady Citri, your child is already born. You can carry him whatever you want, said the doctor curiously. Lady Citri looked at her baby and said his name will be Naruto Citri. The baby Naruto smiled at the name, while Lord Citri sweated at the name, as did the doctor, since that name was strange to say the least, but they said nothing since the look of the Citri woman scared them. End of chapter. The XD in Naruto level comparison. 1. Low-class demons equals low-level Junin and Chunin. 2. Middle CL class demons equals Heil Junin. 3. High-class demon equals Janin or Ambu. 4. Low ultimate class devil equals elite Janin Isuma. Zabuzagurin, Yamato, Jugo, Kabuto, Shippuden. 5 class mid-limit devil equals Kimu. H Hien Zetsu Dadera. 6 high ultimate devil class equals Kakashi sharing. Kakuzunate base cases Murumi Kisum base. 7 Satan class equals characters like Suratobi Old Jera base Konan Sun Bakam J Hachimu the 4 Rockage Kakashi. Amongu Sharingan Gar 4th War Kisum 8 low class god equals 3rd Rockage Jera. Sage Mode Itachi Guys 6 Open Gates 9 Dues Clay Media equals Minato Namakas. Pain Itachi Tensai. In this case the difference between these characters is not that great. Although in a battle between base Minato and Itachi in my opinion Minato would win, although it would be a very complicated battle for the Yandame. 10. High Class God equals Tabarama Minato Sage Mode. 11. Super Demonos equals Nagato Uzumaki Tensai Kinshiki Arashiki. 12. Evil Dragons equals Naruto in Kuramaikakura mode. Minato in Kuramaikakura mode. 13. Celestial Dragons equals Ashura, Indra, Tenor, Hashirama, Madara. 14. Typhoon level beings equals characters like Abido 10 Tails, Sasuke, Madarain, Naruto 6 Path Age mode. 15. Brahma level beings. Characters like Hammerlutsuki, Madara to Renegan, Hagar Multsuki. 16. Beings of Izanagi's level equals characters like Kage Tetsuki. 17. Shiva equals personages Koike Tutsuki. 18. Chaos and Office. 19. Big Red and the 666. Chapter 2. The Rebirth of the Child of the Prophecy. It's been a couple of years since the rebirth of the Child of the Prophecy. Currently, Naruto, 6 years old, was in the Citri Castle, more exactly in the training camps that were created approximately 2 years ago at Naruto's request, which your parents complied with some surprise. But they did so. It was not bad for their son to begin his training at an early age. But it would be very beneficial for him to become stronger at an early age. Currently, the younger Citri was practicing a variety of jutsus of the various elements that he had without anyone bothering him since he put a barrier on the training field to alert him if someone enters since he wanted to keep his training a secret from his family. In addition to practicing with the elemental jutsu, he was also training with the powers that the 3 primordial gods provided them. What was most complicated for the former Leaf Ninja was the power that made him become a man of light, since to do so he had to have perfect chakra and magic control at the level or even higher than that of the Slug Sanetsu and Gautam Hogue of Konoha. Another thing that has been complicated for him in these 2 years is that until now he has had in his training were the Ko and Ho of level 80 and 90. But little by little he was improving in the various high-level Keto and Ho. The Citri family was surprised that their youngest son can use his magic at such a young age and that he practices from such a young age. But at the same time, he made them proud since they realized how strong and dedicated their little Naruto was. Hell, he never stopped training, and that made them proud and worried since he trained several hours a day at an early age, and that could be bad in the future. Currently, Naruto was practicing his Keto and Ho with the energy called Ryasu. He was practicing his various Ho and Keto of different levels with the practice dummies he had in his large training field that he requested from his parents in order to strengthen himself. Ho number 88 Hurrikushin Flying Dragon Strike Sky. Shaking Lightning Cannon, shouted Naruto, expelling a large amount of power. So the young Citri launched a level 80 Ko towards the training dummies, vaporizing everything and leaving a medium destruction throughout the place. Naruto saw the destruction and frowned. Since the power he released was not even half of what it should be, he had to train more and become stronger to get revenge on Konoha and freeze that entire pathetic village with his ice magic. Or better yet, stamp all the villagers into ice spikes if he would make them suffer and beg. The youngest of the Citri thought evilly, letting out a small dark laugh at the thought of how he would kill and torture everyone in Koha, but especially a perverted toad Sanpi. I think it's time for you to take a break. I think it would be good for you to get out of this place. If you continue like this, you might faint from exhaustion. Remember that you are still a 6-year-old boy. Your magic chakra and the other energies that you possess are not developed. Gramama advised with authority since he knew that if he didn't tell Naruto to rest, the idiot would continue training, and that would be catastrophic for the brat's body, and he didn't want anything to happen to him. He wanted him to have a quiet life. Although, he didn't blame him for wanting revenge against Koha. In Kurama, I'll follow your advice. I leave the castle and I'll go for a walk through the underworld. Well, see what's in the place, replied Naruto, giving a defeated sigh since Kurama was right. He still had the body of a 6-year-old boy. And he also had to have a distraction to be able to relax. But I'll go to the place where the Nakatas are. I'm curious to see those yokai, said Naruto with a small smile since he was curious to meet those yokai. Maybe I can find interesting people. Okay. Let's go, puppy. I'm also very curious to see that breed, said Kurama. Also very curious. Naruto nodded and left where the location of the yokai with cat features was since it would be interesting to meet some yokai. After a few minutes, Naruto got ready and left towards where the yokai were since he was curious to meet them. While Naruto walked calmly, he saw with surprise how 2 cat girls were being harassed by several demons. He supposed since catgirls were yokai, he had nothing against the yokai or against any race of the supernatural world. He only had anger against any supernatural being that mistreats the weak that took advantage of their status to mistreat other people. He knew that several demons do that and he wanted to change that. So he sighed and went to support the girls who were in front of him. He had nothing to lose. He would just destroy those trash demons. What are you doing to those girls? Naruto asked, his voice icy and dark, releasing a part of his killing intent. The demons who were harassing the cat girls looked at Naruto with a half smile, but at the same time with a frown at being interrupted. Demon 1. And what are you planning to do, Brad? You're just a stupid kid who doesn't even come close to us. You idiot. Brad. Demon 2. You think acting strong will help save you. You interrupted us with what we wanted to do to those beautiful little brats. Demon 3. Silly brat. Now we will beat you up for acting like a hero. You will have no chance against us, stupid kid. Demon 4. It's time for you to pay for bothering us, silly boy. We'll give you the biggest beating of your life today. We'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget. Demon 5. You will pay dearly today. It's time to torture yourself for screwing us over and doing what we want with those stupid yokai. You are the fools. You disgust me. You may be demons. You may be high class, but that does not give you the right to bother and harass some girls. Disappear from my presence, said Naruto, expelling his power that was comparable to a supreme class demon on par with Greya, the strongest queen. The demons in front of him gasped in surprise and fear at the power, the malice that was directed at them, the killing intent that was directed at them, and it terrified them more and more as they realized that the boy in front of them was not a normal boy. The power that the brat was releasing was easily at the level of a top-level supreme class demon. So the 4 demons did the most logical thing and tried to escape. But Naruto was having none of that, and in a burst of speed, he struck the 4 demons in front of him, knocking all of them out. Naruto was going to kill them, but suddenly someone approached. Don't kill them, please. Not in front of my little sister. Nia shouted, one of the girls, very worried that her sister would see a death at an early age. Naruto stopped and nodded. Okay. I won't kill them, but we have to leave this place. Where girls live, said the younger Citri seriously. The two cats looked at each other and nodded a little more confidently. Well, we live in the town where all the Nakatas are, Nia replied Karoka with a small smile. Budo nodded calmly and said, okay, I'll take you. I know other demons could take advantage of you, and I won't allow it. I may be a demon and somewhat sadistic, but I won't let that trash bother you or Grape. You. Haruo blushed a little at what Naruto said since the boy in front of her was very tender and strong. And not only that, but he was also very protective. But she quickly dismissed that thought since it was not the time and directed her new friend towards her Yakai village. Naruto followed Karoka. While they were talking, they were asking each other her age names, among other things. Veroka was very impressed at the boy who was next to her, since she was only 6 years old approximately, and realized that he was the age of her little sister. Although in his body it was noticeable that he looked older since it could be seen that he was trained. She put his 8 years. Meanwhile, Naruto was impressed to know that Karuka was 12 years old. Hell, he thought she was 15 years old. She was very developed for her age, and that was very impressive. The same thought the fox Kurama that was inside Naruto, since the brat in front of Naruto seemed older and let out a somewhat perverted giggle at seeing Karoka, a giggle that Naruto had to ignore while he continued talking to Karoka and her little sister. After a couple of hours of being with Karoka talking, he met the leader of the Nekomata, a brunette woman with the body of a goddess. It is said that she was a woman so powerful that in power she was capable of fighting on par with the leader of Kyoto, a Kyobi named Yaka. This Nekomata was Yoruchi Shimon, the most powerful Nekomata in decades that could rival a Satan-class demon. I see, Karoka-chan, that you met a very interesting and apparently powerful demon, said Yoruchi with a half smile. Although she also looked at the demon child with some caution, since she felt a great power, although she did not know how great, but her instincts told her to be careful with the young demon. The CAG girl blushed and replied, boss. Nia introduced you to Naruto Citri, youngest son of the Citri house and a high-class devil. Baruchi opened his eyes in surprise as the boy in front of him was the younger brother of Leviathan, one of the 4 leaders of the Underworld and the strongest woman in the Underworld, possibly being the 3rd strongest demon in the Underworld. The pleasure to meet Yoruchi Shimon, the goddess of speed and the most powerful Nekomata currently, as well as someone who was easily at the level of O. Like my sister Serafall, if not perhaps superior, said Naruto with a half smile and somewhat happy to meet a Heil Yakai. Hell. He knew the power of that Yakai. And according to what he investigated, that Nasho is possibly stronger than Waisaka, he was curious about her. He wanted to face that Yakai. Baruchi Shimon opened her eyes in surprise. It's not every day that a child recognizes her so easily, much less a demon. So she smiled and answered, I see that you know me and you don't seem arrogant at all. I like you, boy. You can come whenever you want. I have no problem. I like you. I hope you're a good friend of Koka. Thank you, Yoruchi-sama. Maybe sometime we can fight and you can see my level compared to someone like you. Naruto replied, and asked, smiling widely at being able to test himself with such a Heil Yakai. Aroka opened her eyes in surprise since her new friend wanted to fight her leader in a training match. That was the stupidest thing to do since she knew that her leader was a Yakai that was above the level of an average Satan. Hell, it was even said that she matched some low-level gods. Uruchi Shimon opened her eyes in surprise, but then smiled somewhat sadistically at Naruto's request and replied, "Do you think we'll have a practice match in a week? I'll see what you're made of, boy." Naruto nodded and said, "I want to see how powerful the goddess of speed is. I want to see the level of the strongest Nakasho. See you tomorrow, Karoka-chan." When Naruto finished speaking, he left in a magic circle. "I see you met someone very interesting, Karoka-chan," said Yoruchi with a half smile. Since the demon she met seemed very interesting, but above all respectful, but not only that, since she felt an enormous power in him, she saw the potential in Naruto and knew he was destined for greatness. "I already know that Boss Naru is very interesting and brave. It is rare to see that in a demon and even less in a high-class one behaving in such a way. I would like to know him more. Who knows? I feel that with him my life will be more interesting," replied Karoka. The leader of the Nekomatas nodded to Karoka since it was rare to see a demon like Naruto. Normally, demons are arrogant and believed themselves superior to other races. But Naruto was different, which the leader of the Nekomata liked quite a bit since he was a respectful child and apparently someone worthy of trust. Meanwhile, Naruto appeared in a magic circle in Citri Castle after being with the Nekomata. "Naren, it's good to see you. Where have you been, little brother? Our parents have been looking for you," said an energetic Serafall, smiling. But in that smile, you could see a lot of pain Naruto felt if he didn't give a good excuse for why he disappeared. Naruto saw his older sister and sighed. "You don't have to worry about anything, Sarachan. Then I will explain to our parents where I was now. I just want to go train. I need to become strong. I am still weak." Serafall frowned. She didn't understand why her little brother trained so much nowadays. She had seen the power of her little Naruchan, and he was easily, in her opinion, a maximum high class. Or maybe a low supreme class, and that for a 6-year-old boy was impressive. Hell, those who knew him said he was a prodigy. Erota, so despite being older than her Naren, she was still not half as strong, and that was 2 years older than her little Naruto. But the Mayu Leviathan stopped wandering in her thoughts inside again. "Naruto, I don't understand why you want to be strong. In my opinion, you are the strongest young demon so far. Why be stronger than you are now?" Serafall asked, curiously with a frown. Naruto looked at his older sister and said, "I want to be strong enough to surpass any being in the supernatural world. I want to be powerful enough to protect my family. But I also want to be powerful enough to have my revenge against Konoha." This last thing he thought about and let out a dark chuckle in his thoughts for thinking how to go to Konoha and freeze all that trash, or better yet skin all the villagers who tutored him and cut off the heads of the leaders of the Leaf to have them as trophies. Serafall opened her eyes in surprise at her little Naruto's response. She didn't think her little brother had that thought, so she smiled and said, "Naruto-chan, I want to fight you twice a week. I will evaluate your skills. We will see how strong you are becoming." Boruto nodded with a small smile as he wanted to fight his sister, the strongest woman in the underworld. All this was seen by Sona, the second daughter of the Citri house and the possible heir to the Citri clan. The demon saw everything with a small smile since her younger brother was strong, which she liked, but she also had a frown, wanting to improve herself and become stronger. Sona's thought, "I want to be stronger. I know I'm weak. It would be better to tell Naruto, Anto and Serafallani-chan. Maybe it would be good to train with them. I don't want to be the weakest in the family, but I want to be a worthy heir to the clan." Naruto continued talking with his older sister about her training, but he saw out of the corner of his eye that his older sister Sona was still there, and he guessed that she also wanted to be part of the training. He knew Thad was stronger than Sona by far, and he knew that his younger sister felt envy and pride for him since he could feel her emotions. So, he gave an internal sigh. Naruto. So Tan, I know that by the look on your face, you also want to train with us too. Be a worthy heir. Since I honestly do not want to be the heir of the clan, father and mother know it. That is a lot of responsibility for me, and I know that you are the right one for the position, but think that you lack power. That is why you want to train and strengthen yourself with us. Serafall opened her eyes in surprise for two reasons. The first is that her younger brother did not want to be heir to the clan. And the second reason is that her Soden wanted to train with them, which was strange since her Sotan always ran away from her, which made her sad. Sona opened her eyes in surprise at being read so easily, but she sighed. She knew her brother could read her so easily, and even though her sister embarrassed her, she wanted to get stronger and she was going to do it, and if she had to spend more time with her sister, she would do it. Sona, I accept. I know I'm weak and I want to be a worthy clan heir. I want to train with you too. Naruto and Serafall smiled widely and nodded as now the three Citri siblings trained together. All this was seen by Kurama, the nine-tailed fox, who had a small smile, seeing Naruto have some happiness for being with his sisters. But he sighed. He needed to get stronger and knew that he still couldn't get out of Naruto. So he trained in his younger brother's mental space in order to get stronger. Serafall, well, changing the subject, Naruto, I think it's time for you to have your evil pieces within a week. I will take you with a Jukaken to see about your pieces, since you are the only one of us three who has yet to receive his evil pieces. Naruto, well, Sarachan, it will be interesting to have my pieces. I want to form my nobility and recruit interesting people. The younger Citri responded happily for having his evil pieces and perhaps improving them with his few jutsu and rune magic, since he wanted to make those pieces increase the level of his companions. Serafall and Sona nodded, one with a big smile and the other had a small smile, seeing her brother happy, since he was normally a serious person, sometimes even more than Sona herself. End of chapter. Chapter 3. Evil Piece. It's been about a week since Naruto met Kuroka. During this time, the former shinobi reborn as a demon was training with his sister Serafall Leviathan, one of the 4 demon kings of the Underworld, and his older sister and clan Arisa Citri. In their training, the Citri family and all their stewards and servants could see the battles of the younger Citri and the male Leviathan very even. But Serafall always defeated Naruto. Although what nobody knew is that Naruto was holding back, since he had gravity seals carrying several hundred kilos in his arms, legs, and body that considerably restricted his movements, despite the fact that little Naruto always lost against his older sister. On the other hand, in the case of Sona, the heiress of the clan also increased her power, not to the level of her younger brother, Naruto, but considerably. Lord Citri and Lady Citri were filled with pride to see how the smallest of their family faced one of the strongest demons in the Underworld. More specifically, the third most powerful demon in the Underworld. Serafall Citri, now called Serafall Leviathan. And they are proud that their princess and clan heiress has also become strong. Currently, Naruto was in a training camp where he was in front of Yoruchi, his training partner, friend, and teacher in some fighting styles. Since they fought for the first time, she won the impression of Yoruchi and offered to train him and Karoka. Although with Yoruchi and Karoka, she was softer in her training because she was much weaker than Naruto. In addition, they had just started their training, so she shouldn't be so tough. Little Naruto, are you ready? Yoruchi said with a smile as she wanted to test little Citri and see how strong he will be. Naruto saw his friend and teacher and nodded with a small smile as he wanted the power of the goddess of speed. Thus, both launched into a hand-to-hand battle where, despite Naruto being smaller than Yoruchi, the battle was very even. On the other hand, in the battle, Yoruchi did not activate her shish. And Naruto did not deactivate his gravity seals. So, the two were not fighting. Seriously. Lightning magic electric punch, Yoruchi shouted, making her entire right fist fill with electricity and tried to hit Naruto with it. The young Citri smiled and said, "Foot. No Yoroi wind armor." So Naruto surrounded his body with wind. Boruchi was surprised by such armor and realized that it had some resemblance to her shish. So she smiled and went at full speed towards Naruto. The young Citri did the same and both clashed fists, causing a great explosion by the force of both opponents of the level of a maximum supreme class. Meanwhile, Kuroka and some Yakai Nekushu were with their mouths open because of such a fight. They knew that the young Citri was powerful. But being at the level of their leader, Yoruchi, and Nekushu at the level of Serafall Leviathan, one of the four Magusaka, the leader of the Yakai in Kyoto, that was impressive since a child who was barely between 6 or 7 years old can face someone on par with a Mayu was amazing. And everyone wondered how strong Naruto Citri would be when he is 12 or 15 years old. Meanwhile, Yoruchi and Naruto continued to fight strongly. Electrical attacks and wind and ice attacks went back and forth throughout the training field where both male-level rivals were fighting. After 10 minutes, you could see Yoruchi panting, quite tired and with several bruises around her body and blood coming out of her mouth from a strong punch she received from Naruto, and Naruto without his wind armor with his clothes torn and some bruises on his body. "I see you've surpassed me, little Naruto," said Yoruchi, panting heavily from the huge fight she was having with the young demon. All the Nekushu opened their eyes in shock at their leader's statement while Naruto frowned. "You know very well, Yoruchi-chan, that you have not fought seriously. You have not used that shunko that increases your speed and strength that I heard so much about," said Naruto. Uruchi frowned and shook her head and replied, "I know very well that you weren't really fighting either, Brad. I know that you have seals that retain your power, which surprises me quite a bit, the level you possess with sealing magic." Naruto opened his eyes in surprise since Yoruchi was so skilled at noticing his gravity seals, but he smiled at that. "I see that you noticed, Yoruchi-chan, although I think it's better to leave it as a tie. What do you say?" Boruchi, the goddess of speed, smiled at what Naruto said and nodded with a half smile. Meanwhile, the spectators were with their mouths did not fight at her maximum level. But the same thing happens with Naruto. Apparently, he has seals that retain his power at the end of the battle. They were in a tie. At what Serafall said, the Citri family and Ajuka opened their eyes in shock since it was difficult to believe that a small child could stand up to Yoruchi, an individual who is on par with a supreme class demon. Ajuka, that is unthinkable. Yoruchi's power is almost as great as your Serafall. How is it possible that your younger brother can fight on par with her even though they both won't fight? Seriously, if what you say is correct, your younger brother may have a level on par with a Santinus demon. Or close to that level. Serafall lose. And I don't want anyone to find out about this. I'm telling you because we're family, and I'm telling you, Ajuka, because I trust you. So I don't want the council or the others to know about this, since from what I could see is that Naruto wants to remain anonymous, or at least that the council isn't bothering him." Ajuka, Lord Citri, and Lady Citri looked at each other on one side if they wished and told what happened. Naruto would become famous on the other hand. They knew that Naruto did not care about fame. So they sighed in resignation and nodded to Serafall. They would remain silent. They would not say anything so that Naruto could be calm without the council bothering him. Ajuka, and what do you plan to do? Exactly. From what you told me, your younger brother was at the level of a supreme class demon or Satan class. So, what do you want to do exactly? Serafall, simple. You know, Naruto, he doesn't give a __ about fame, and he doesn't like to be ordered around. The only thing I ask of you is caution. Don't tell Serziches any of this. He's a bit paranoid, and I'm afraid of what he'd do if he found out about Naruto's power. The Juka frowned. He knew that Serziches was paranoid when someone of great power appeared, especially if it was a demon. But he did not like to lie to his Mao partner. But at the same time, he did not want to betray Serafall since he knew what could happen if they found out about Naruto's power. He knew the young Citri and liked him. He was calculating and good with his family, so he would keep the secret of Naruto's power. Ajuka, well, Serafall, I will keep the secret of Naruto's powers, but I also want to talk to him and tell us why he hides most of his power. Also, I want him to come with me to get his evil pieces. It will be interesting to see what his pieces will be like. I am curious to see what will happen. The Lord and Lady Citri in relief. They did not want anything to happen to their youngest son. Although they were also perplexed by the power of their son and realized that Naruto was not a normal demon since he was a child with the power of a supreme class demon if not superior to a normal supreme class reaching the level of Satan. Both parents thought Serafall. Thank you, Ajikahucha-chan, for keeping this secret. Since I want to protect my Naruto-chan from any nonsense that the Council of Elders wants, and from any brat who wants to be with him for his power, not to compromise my younger brother with any silly demon who only wants to climb for the power of my sweet little brother, he said with an icy voice. Both Serafall and Ajuka's parents flinched slightly at the tone Serafall used, as it bore no resemblance to the charismatic and friendly Ma Lord Citri. My dear, don't you think you're being overprotective of Naruto? Besides, agreements between houses are beneficial to the entire underworld. So, I think Naruto would be fine getting engaged to an AYS. Lady Citri and Ajuka frowned and mentally patted themselves since the idiot practically wanted to force Naruto to get engaged to a stranger. And he said it in front of Serafall, who is a very overprotective sister. And they both knew that Serafall would kill anyone who tried to force Naruto to do something. After all, they knew the Mayu and knew how cruel she was to anyone who harmed her family, but especially her younger brothers. Serafall, father, I will tell you once and only once, do not try anything that will harm Naruto. I do not want you to compromise him, because if you do, I will take care of erasing the fiancé and her entire family. If you try something like that, Naruto will get married or engaged when the time is right and with the person she loves. So do not do anything stupid that will harm my little brother. Finish the Mayu with a very strong aura surrounding her, making the entire floor shake. Lord Citri sweated a lot. He had forgotten that his daughter was very overprotective of Naruto, and now he regretted having said the engagement. Besides that, it scared him since Serafall was willing to erase a house of the demon pillars if they harm Naruto in any way. The Juka and Lady Citri denied, but were also surprised by Serafall's threat and realized how serious she was about harming Naruto in any way. You have no reason to threaten our parents, Sarah-chan, since I would never get engaged to someone I don't love now or ever, said Naruto, appearing out of nowhere. Everyone opened their eyes in surprise, since no one could detect Naruto until the black-haired man spoke, something that amazed them, and in Ajuka's case, made him break out in a cold sweat. Since for the one who is a Mayu, not being able to detect the child was something dangerous, he now realized Naruto's power. Naruto, nice to see you again. Ajuka-sama. Ajuka, nice to see you again, Naruto. Serafall, I see Naren that you're back. I was talking with our parents and Ajuka-chan about your evil piece. It's time to take you to get your evil piece games. Naruto nodded. He already knew that these days he would get his evil pieces. Okay. Naruto-kan, it's time for you to come with me to my laboratory so I can give you your evil piece. And don't worry, Serafall will come with us. Ajuka said calmly since he knew how protective Serafall was of her younger brother. Naruto and Serafall nodded, and both approached Ajuka saying goodbye to their parents. And both Mao along with Naruto disappeared in magic circles. I told you not to try to compromise Naruto-kan, but you didn't listen to me now. Serafall is angry and you already heard her threat. So, I hope you don't do anything stupid, dear, said Lady Citri seriously. Lord Citri just sighed, realizing the foolishness he almost committed, and his eldest daughter froze him until he was left with a popsicle for wanting to compromise Naruto. Meanwhile, in Ajuka's laboratories, he was with Serafall and Naruto to be able to give them his evil pieces. Okay, Naruto, create a sphere of energy and compress your power. Ajuka ordered. Naruto nodded and formed a sphere of energy that gave off a great amount of power. This time it was blue-black in color. That sphere could easily rival one of Ajuka's best attacks, which impressed both Mao. But they didn't say anything after they asked Naruto. Very well. Naruto-kan, that's enough. I was able to analyze your energy. Give me a few minutes and create your pieces, said Ajuka. Naruto nodded, curious to see how the evil pieces are created. While Kurama inside, Naruto also looked curious to see how those pieces are created since he found it interesting to be reincarnated into a demon thanks to those pieces. Serafall saw everything with a small smile since finally her younger brother would have his pieces. It would be interesting to see who will be part of her younger brother's nobility. She just hoped that he doesn't recruit very dangerous people. After about 10 minutes, the evil pieces were ready. But when Ajuka saw Naruto's evil pieces, he opened his mouth in shock and disbelief since there was not one set of evil pieces, but there were two sets of evil pieces. And the most amazing thing of all is that all the pieces were mutated. But not only that, but some were gold and others were silver and both shone with power, which amazed and intrigued him. I have very good news and other very interesting news, said Ajuka, after finishing watching the two evil piece games. And what would that news be, Ajik-chan? Something bad happened with Neuron's pieces, asked Serafall curiously. Naruto and Kurama inside. Naruto looked curiously at what Ajuka had to say since they saw it as something strange in the green-haired Mao. But it's a bit strange since this had never happened to me before. The thing is that instead of one evil piece game, two games came out. And the strangest thing is that all the pieces are mutated and have a somewhat strange design. In addition, these pieces radiate a strange power. The green-haired Mayu finished speaking. Serafall opened her mouth in shock and disbelief while Naruto was curious about his new evil piece. And Kurama inside. Naruto also looked at everything with curiosity and realized that strange things happened to his Ginuriki even in another dimension. Naruto, and is it a bad thing to have two evil piece games? I asked curiously. Ajuka, I don't think it's bad. It's just strange. So, I'll ask you that when you reincarnate someone, you tell me all the changes that your fellow nobility will have since I'm curious to see what your evil piece does. And they don't have to worry. I won't tell the counselor and other demon that you have two sets of evil piece. So rest assured, the only thing I'll ask is that you pass me all the information about your evil piece. Serafall sighed in relief, and was grateful that Ajuka was a good friend, since if the council found out about this, Naruto would be in the eye of those fossils. Naruto also sighed internally, since he didn't want to deal with those fossils. Although if they screwed him over, he would be in charge of ending that council permanently. None of those fools were as strong as a Mao, so it would be easy to liquidate them. Although he also assumed that those elders would have guards, so he wouldn't be confident. Naruto, thank you Ajuka-sama for keeping this secret. I don't like being the eye of those fossils. Ajuka and Serafall laughed at hearing Naruto call the demonic elders fossils. It was funny to hear how they belittle the demonic council. You don't have to worry Naruto-kan, and remember, if you need anything, let me know, mentioned the green-haired Mao. Naruto nodded with a half-smile. But Lajuka-chan, I'm leaving with Naruto. It's time to go home, said Serafall after saying that. Naruto grabbed his two sets of evil pieces and disappeared in a magic circle towards the Citri residence along with the Mayu. Serafall Juka's thoughts. It will be interesting to see what Naruto will do. Citri, his power level is not normal. I would say that now he is easily on par with the first level Satans, and he is a child under 10 years old. I wonder how much power he will have when the child is 12 or 13 years old. He will definitely be positioned in the top 10 of the strongest beings. Maybe even the child can surpass or equal Indra. That would definitely be very interesting. End of chapter. Naruto Noble, Citri Part 1. The first nobility of Naruto Bray. Naruto Citri Nudo's appearance as a child. Queen Merlin Monsu Notason Abiespo Irene Bularian Fairy Tale Bishop. Semiramis Fate. Apabro o Zabulsian Fairy Tale Knight Nero Claudius Fate Dori. Steelcrom. XD Tori Vidora Tensai Chidorera Slime Data Ken Horn Eden Tashiro Hitsaw. Bleach Horn Kuroka DXD on Mid Uzumaki Naruto on Karen Uzumaki Naruto Hun Fu. Naruto Horn Ravel Phoenix DXD on Ace One Piece. Well, this is Naruto's first nobility. I'm still putting together his second no ability. The next chapter will most likely come out this weekend. I already have the queen, bishops, and knights of his second nobility from Naruto. I just need to correctly decide his pawns and rooks. Naruto. Noble Citri Part 2. Well, this will be the second nobility of Naruto. Braina Velzard Tensai Chidorera Slime Data Ken Abiespo Velgaran Tensai Chidor Slime. Data Ken Abiespo Gilgamesh Fate Knight Arthur Pendragon Fate. I will put this in mail. In the story, I will explain why. Pabilo Morid Pendragon Fate. Thori Natsu Fairy Tale. Thori Grave Fairy Tale on Sabo One Piece. Be the on Makoto Aka Naruto. Hun. Konan Naruto on Gar Naruto. Hun Juvia Fairy Tale. Well, for now that would be the second nobility of Naruto. I am still deciding the other three pawns. I am thinking of placing Shisui, Nagato, Minato, Kushina from Naruto, AIM, Titsumi, and Kurum. From AIM, Georgia Kill, Basara, Toho, Moner, Marion from Shinmai, Mam Nokia. I have not decided what to place in the last three pawns. Any suggestions? Top 10 of the strongest. The top 10 that I will place will not have any of the Naruto nobility or any relative of this PDT. By family, I mean animals or supernatural beings that support the demons in combat. Then I will place a new top with those of the Naruto nobility. PDT. In this story, Amaterasu is the strongest goddess of Shinto. So strong that she has already surpassed Azanami and Izanagi, although not by much. I will also place new characters. Top 0. Great Red Dragon of the Apocalypse, the True Dragon. Dragon God. Red Emperor. Prahika, the beast of the apocalypse, the strongest beast. Top 1. The Office, the dragon of infinity, dragon goddess. Pa, the primordial goddess of creation, mother of the Greeks. Top 2. Shiva, god of destruction, leader of the Hindu faction. The Madarasu, goddess of the sun in the universe, leader of the Shinto faction. Top 3. Izanami, goddess of creation and death, the primordial. Izanagi, god of creation, the primordial. Top 4. Vishnu, god of preservation and goodness in Hinduism, one of the three great gods of Hinduism. Brahma, creator god of Hinduism, one of the three great gods of Hinduism. Top 5. Indra, king of the Devas and lord of heaven. Whitel, the feathered serpent. Top 6. Thor, the god of lightning, the mightiest Norse. Top 7. Diffin, the prediction of the gods, the Greek destroyer. Top 8. Hades, Greek god of the underworld, the strongest Greek, the supreme god of the underworld. Odin, all-father, leader of the Norse supreme god. I still don't know whether to sneak in the Odin from DxD or the Odin from Shimatsu. No. Valkyrie. Top 9. Greg, red celestial dragon, the red emperor. Albion, white celestial dragon, the white emperor. Top 10. Kronos, leader of the Titans. The Manra, lord of the sun and light, leader of the Egyptian faction, supreme Egyptian god. Well, this will be the top 10 of the strongest beings in this story. Zeus will not be the strongest of the Greeks. He occupies the fourth in terms of power. In this story, the Hindu faction and the Shinto faction are the strongest. Hindu for the Turdi and Shinto for Amaterasu, Izanagi and Izanami, having both factions. 3 beings from the top 10 in this Amaterasu will be a little stronger than Izanami and Izanagi. The biblical god, if he were alive, would be in the top 4, and Lucifer, if he were still alive, would be in the top 6. Chapter 4. Confrontation and Rescue. It has been approximately almost 9 years since the rebirth of Naruto Uzumaki, the son of the prophecy now known in the underworld as Naruto Citri, the Ice Emperor. This name was given to him because he has enormous handling of ice magic comparable to that of his sister Serafall Leviathan. In these years, Naruto was becoming very well known in the demon community, as he was creating space-time magic, something very complicated, if not impossible, even for the oldest and most powerful demons at this time. Naruto's power increased considerably at his young age of 9. He already had much more power than in his past life. If he calculated well, he could defeat his older sister Serafall Leviathan and the Myujuka Bilibub. At the same time, having currently Naruto a power comparable, if not superior, to that of the celestial dragons. Also, thanks to the great handling of magic seals and runes, Naruto was being the focus of attention of several factions. On the other hand, the younger Citri used gravity seals to limit his power since he was already receiving a lot of attention. He didn't want much more as it was troublesome. During this time, Naruto also became very good friends with the Yaokai Nakasho clan to the point that they saw him as family. This was thanks to the fact that Naruto was very kind to them and was not an arrogant fool, and even defended several Nekushu from being attacked by demons. On the other hand, Naruto at the young age of 9 already had a huge amount of money thanks to luck in the games where the younger Citri invested a gigantic sum of money in a company called Uzumaki Company where they were in charge of selling food and first-hand technology. He did this without his sister or the fossil counselors noticing, since he wanted to make his own money. Currently, Naruto was in his room about to release Kurama, whom he considered his brother and best friend. This he did since now he was powerful enough to release Kurama without it being able to harm him when releasing him. Ready, Kurama, said Naruto, opening the seal with an erupt and freeing it from him so that it can walk on the ground. The black-haired man moaned in pain when a red chakra came out of him and took the form of a right of approximately 12 or 13 years of age. Naruto fell to one knee from exhaustion at being able to free the one he considers his older brother and best friend. When Kurama was released, he noticed that and helped the black-haired boy get up, which he appreciated. Well, pup, you managed to free me completely and kept your promise, said Kurama with a fang smile as he was happy to finally be free. But smiled. I know, Kurama. A promise is a promise. The first step is ready. I freed you and soon we will both get revenge on Konoha. You for being locked up and me for being belittled and beaten by that trash. Naruto said coldly. Kurama nodded, happy to be able to have his little revenge against Konoha, and said, as I promised Naruto, I will never leave your side, and even if I am free, I will always support you in everything. But changing the subject, we will go look for your nobility, asked the Kyuubi. Naruto nodded. Well, I'll have to go look for my two nobility. And with your support, I don't think anything will happen to me. Your power surpasses that of the Mayu. I would say that you can easily place yourself in the lower part of the top 10 of the strongest beings. But with time, you can become much stronger, perhaps reaching the level of Indra or the Trami. With time, we will see. Naruto said simply. Well, that's interesting. I know there are beings that could defeat me. And as you say, I'm at the bottom of the top 10. But it doesn't matter. I'll become much stronger to help you with your plan. But changing the subject, when do you plan to go to the elemental nations? Asked the Kyuubi. You know very well that we will go, Kurama. We will rescue your brothers and also rescue Yakumochan. After all, she is my best friend. And when the date we will go in approximately 5 years, Naruto answered seriously. Gramama nodded in understanding but smiled as his little brother had not forgotten about the other boo that he wanted to rescue from those ninjas. Very soon he would free his younger brothers and take care of that trash from Akatsuki and the ninja villages. Overall, now he was stronger, even stronger than Madara and Hashirama. Naruto, your parents will not suspect that I, a Kyuubi, join you so easily, and even more so when they feel my power, since even though I try to hide it, at least they will think that I am on par with a supreme class demon, if not superior, mentions Kurama. Seriously, I don't think they'll say anything, since despite how young I am, unlike my older sister, Sanok-chan, I regularly leave the underworld with her without my parents' permission. So, I'll just say that I recently met you and that we became friends and I brought you to my room, Naruto replied with nonchalance in his voice. Since he didn't care much about that subject. Parama nodded but sweat dropped. Because of how carefree Naruto was. It was as if he didn't care about his parents' opinions. Anaran, are you in your room? I have something to tell you. It's very important, shouted a very happy woman's voice. Nudo and Kurama saw the Leviathan knock down the door in a magical girl outfit. When Serafall entered, she saw a boy of approximately 12 or 13 years old with 9 tails behind him. Something that surprised her greatly, since it was assumed that the only Kyuubi so far were Yusaka the Yakai leader and her daughter Kunu. Little Naruchan, who was the boy next to you, asks Serafall, narrowing her eyes cautiously at the Kyuubi in front of her, since she knew that a Kyuubi was not an ordinary Yakai. Hell, she knew that easily an experienced Kyuubi would be on par with a high-level supreme class devil like Hiragia. Oh Srachan, he is Kurama. He is my best friend. I met him a while ago and he will stay with me for now. Naruto answered at that. Serafall opened her eyes in surprise and jumped on Kurama, hugging Him. Oh, Ner-chan, it's surprising that you have a Kobe as a friend. But how did you meet? Asked the energetic Mao. Naruto saw her with a smile at his sister and responded, laughing around when he came out of the underworld from time to time. Who would say that there was a Kaiu apart from the Yakai leader and her daughter? Serafall saw her brother but shrugged and became serious. I have something important to tell you, Naruto. This is something that will affect you. The black-haired man and Kurama became serious at Serafall's words. Recently, Karoka-san murdered her king. So, the Mayu and the demonic council have sent several devils to marry her. I know that you love her and she is your best friend. So, I inform you with all the pain in my heart what happened. Serafall said, sad for the catgirl, but sadder because she found out that her brother adores Kuroka. At that, Naruto opened his eyes in horror. Since now the demons would marry his best friend, he would not allow that. He would stop them. So he became serious and said and ordered Kurama, let's go. At that, Kurama nodded and Serafall opened her eyes in surprise. But before the Mayo Leviathan did anything, they disappeared in a magic circle towards the town where the Nasha were. When they arrived at the outskirts of the complex, they saw with horror how several demons were going to attack the poor Yakai. So both Naruto and Kurama went at full speed and stood in front of the hundreds of demons that were near the Nakasho complex. I will not let them touch this Yakai clan. I will not let them harm Kuruka-chan's family even if I have to kill them all, said Naruto, releasing his power and intent to kill, which made most of the demons retreat and several of the leaders of those demons sweat at the power that Naruto gave off. After saying that, Naruto made a shadow clone and said, Kurama, you will go with my clone. I want you to take the entire Nasho clan to the safe house we have in Japan. I know you know where it is since you saw everything I did, so go quickly, we don't have much time to protect Karoka's family. I will take care of the trash that is in front of. Pama frowned. He wanted to help Naruto, but he sighed and obeyed his younger brother. So, he did hand positions and said, Devil's Gate open. Thus, opening a dimensional door to one of the safe houses he had in Japan. Harama Yoruchi said, I know you don't know me, but I tell you to go through the demon's door. This door will take you and your entire clan to a safe place. I know you are strong, but it is dangerous for you to stay with the Nico. Naruto will deal with all of them. I will stay to guard the place. Boruchi frowned. She didn't want to leave of Naruto, much less fighting against an army. But she also had to protect her clanmates, and she knew that Naruto was strong enough to even fight against Tumu at once and defeat them. So, she nodded to Kurama and passed through the demon's gate. She just hoped that Naruto wouldn't get hurt. She knew how strong her little friend was, but she also knew that he wasn't invincible. Nut. Clone. Don't worry. The boss will be fine. He can fight that trash alone. But you guys have to escape. Stop worrying, Yoruchi-chan. The boss will finish off all that trash. Gramama. Okay. All the Nakasho moved quickly before more demons come. The Nakasho nodded and passed through the demon gate with Yoruchi. They only hoped that Lord Naruto lived since he was their savior. Meanwhile, with the demons, when Naruto released his killing intent, they all wondered how a child of approximately 9 years old could release so much power and bloodlust. Demon 1. Shut up, Brad. You think you can take on all of us? You're just a little demon while we're a Brad army. Demon 2. Yeah, get out or you'll die before us, you stupid brat. Let us kill that idiot. Yakai trash. And if you don't let us kill them, we'll destroy you. Brad or Ruto, shut up. Trash. All of you will die for trying to kill my friends. No matter who it is, Whether they are dragons, angels, demons, or even gods, anyone who attacks my friends will be killed by my hands. It's time for you to pay for trying to hurt Crochan's family. Shikuten element burn. Bombardment of the sun god. After Naruto said that, several fireballs went against the demons that when touched, they turned to ashes. After Naruto's attack, he took out his katana and went against the army of demons, massacring everyone with enormous ease. Now die trash. Today you will pay for what you tried to do to the Nakasho had 90 Kohitsugi black coffin, roared Naruto, trapping hundreds of demons in a black energy in the shape of a square. And when Naruto closed his fist, the demons turned to dust as if they had never existed. This attack even erased the blood and bones of his opponents, making the few demons that remained alive watch in horror as the boy was able to destroy dozens of demons with ease. Extra Demon 1. You are a monster. How could you kill all the demons? Who are you? And why do you defend the yokai trash? Shut up, cockroach, and die, said Naruto, sending a lightning blade towards the demon, piercing the heart and killing him so easily that it terrified the rest of the demons. You are all trash, lightning element electric dragon, said Naruto, sending a medium-sized dragon against the demons, killing several of them. But suddenly Naruto stopped as he felt 5 high presences easily at the Satan level, if not higher. Should I feel several high-level energies, most likely my sister Ajuka-sama and the other Mu along with Greo Lukusafuge, it will be somewhat difficult. But well, nobody has to know what happened in this place. It's time to go ninja art parallel illusion, thought Naruto with his wrenching activated. He knew that his Yinjutsu was strong easily at the level of Itachi Tsukiyomi. So he knew that he would fool everyone in the place with ease. After all, they were trash. Who would have no resistance to his jutsu? After Naruto said that, the younger Citri was able to manipulate the minds of the surviving demons, making them believe that someone with a fox mask massacred all the demons and took the Nasho. Naruto's thoughts. It's time to go. I feel the mango energies approaching my barrier won't stop them for long. It's time to go to the safe house. I know that by rescuing the Nasho clan, I can gain the favor of the Shinto gods. I know that Lady Amaterasu loves the Yakai Nico. Now, I need to locate Kuroka-chan and then make my move to get rid of the Council of Elders. These idiots almost caused a war with the Yakai and the Shinto. A war that could erase the underworld. After leaving his thoughts, Naruto disappeared in a black flash towards the safe house he had in Japan. 5 minutes passed since Naruto disappeared. In these 5 minutes, the 4 Mayu and the strongest queen appeared. These 5 Satan-level demons and super demons were Serzichus Lucifer of the Grimmery clan, Serafall Leviathan of the Citri clan, Ajukabilab of the Astaroth clan, and Falbium Modius of the Glacialis clan. In addition to the strongest Queen Gracia Lucifuge, these were considered the strongest demons. These 5 demons saw in surprise and horror as hundreds of demons were dead. Middle-class demons, high and even supreme class killed in a horrible way. Serafall's thoughts. What happened in this place? Who could kill so many demons so easily and without a trace? And where is the Nasho clan? Did they kill them? The Mayu wondered. Ajukas thought this is not the work of the Nasho clan since the deaths of these demons are very brutal, and I know well that the Nakasho are more about magic and hand-to-hand combat, but several of these demons were cut down. This was done by a very well-trained assassin and someone who was easily in the Satan class. But why do this, and why are these demons in this place that you were planning? Ajuka asked himself seriously, since he did not know why so many demons were in the Nakasho complex. Palbium's thought, the one who did this massacre is a top-level assassin. And someone very good at magic runes to put up a barrier that prevents us from teleporting to this place. This individual is very dangerous. But because these demons are here and where the Yakai Nico, or if something happened to these Nico, we would most likely be in trouble with the Shinto and the Yakai, which would harm us, especially with the Shinto faction, which is one of the strongest factions. Braya's thoughts. Such as you are an idiot. And did you know that the council sent hundreds of demons to kill the Yakai? If they had succeeded, Amaterasu and all the Shinto gods would have erased the underworld. But I wonder who killed this entire army. Must have been a ruthless killer. But hey, it doesn't matter. These demons are trash, and dead trash is the best for the underworld. Besides, whoever killed all these demons did us a favor. And since there are no Yakai bodies, it means they are alive. Most likely the Shinto will soon ask us for a meeting along with Lady Isaka to explain what happened. Demons won help. He was a monster. He took us as a game. He appeared out of nowhere and we made fun of him. But in the end, he massacred us. He had no mercy. He told us that anyone who harmed the Nasho will be killed by his hand. He escaped with the entire clan. The demon said in a low voice before fainting from exhaustion, both physical and mental. At that, the four Mayu and Greya opened their eyes in surprise. Sirich's Greya call. Bring the doctors and soldiers. I want all these demons to be treated. Tell them to come quickly. I want to know everything that happened in this place. Breya nodded and disappeared in a magic circle. Although if you looked at her closely, she had a frown on her face. She loved Surzich. But sometimes they were such an idiot. She didn't understand why she didn't do anything to stop the massacre of the Nasho clan if she knew the problems it could cause. Serafall's thought, Naruchan, were you the one who killed all these demons? Would you really go so far for your friends as to destroy an army? My little brother, if it was you, you will be in trouble. But you don't have to worry since I will always support you. And I know that Ajak-chan will do it too, my dear little brother. Meanwhile, in Naruto's safe house, or rather safe mansion, was the entire Yakai clan, Kurama and Naruto talking about what happened a few minutes ago with the demons that attacked them. Buki, thank you, Naruto, for saving my people. I know they would have died if that entire army had attacked us. Although I am surprised that you were able to destroy that army so easily. You seriously hid your power very well. You are definitely stronger than the little Naruto. Naruto, you have no reason to worry. Yoruchi-chan, you are my friend and your clan treated me very well. So, obviously I will protect you and your people in a few days. We will go talk to Lady Amaterasu to discuss what happened. I know that she will not cause a war since you are alive, but we need to talk to the goddess of the sun and the universe in these days. I know that what I did in the underworld will expand in a few days. Pama. Also, we have to find Karoka. I don't think she killed her king because she wanted to, but for something else, and it's time to find out why. Baruchi, I understand, and you don't have to worry. I will accompany you to talk to Lady Amaterasu. I know that she will not make a war. She may be in the top 3 of the strongest, but she is a grateful goddess, and I know that by saving us, you will obtain her protection from both her and Susanoo-sama and Tsukiyomi-sama. Naruto and Kurama nodded in understanding and sighed internally, since having the protection of the Shinto would be good, since everyone knew that the Shinto along with the Hindus were the 2 strongest factions. Thanks to each of them having 3 or 4 entities in the top 10. After those 2, came the Greeks and the Norse, each having 2 beings in the top 10. Naruto, that's perfect. In a few days, we will go to the Shinto territory to talk to Amaterasu-sama. But first, I will talk to my sister. I know that she will support me with what I did since. We all know that if the massacre had happened, Amaterasu would have destroyed the Underworld. Irachi, I ask you, Naruto, that when you find Karoka, you make her part of your nobility, so she will get your protection. She is still young, and I don't think she will survive alone. Please protect her. I know you are still a child, but your power easily enters the top 10 of the strongest. The same with the Kobe that is by your side. He is easily in the top 9 or 8. Promise me that you will look for Karoka and protect her. I promise to find Croach-chan and make her part of my nobility. I will protect her from everyone since she is my friend and I protect my friends. You have no reason to worry since anyone who hurts Croach-chan will die. Naruto answered seriously, releasing his power, cracking the floor. Baruchi smiled, but at the same time she sweated a lot because of the power that little Naruto had. Now she realized that Naruto is not only in the top 10, but that he could easily be in the middle. If she compared Naruto's power, she would say that he is on par with Thor, the strongest Norseman, and that was impressive for a child. She wondered how strong Naruto would be in a few years and laughed internally. She knew that his potential when he reaches his maximum level could match Lady Amaterasu or Lady Cows, the top 2 of the strongest beings. End of chapter. Chapter 5. Getting to know the goddess of the sun in the universe. It's been about a week since the Nasho incident happened where thanks to Naruto, the entire clan was able to escape and the demon Citri was able to avoid a war against the Yokai and the Shinto. He helped the clan for 2 reasons. 1, because it was the clan of his best friend. And 2, because he did not want the demons to go to war, unless with the Shinto, who are one of the strongest factions where young Citri knew that even if the 3 biblical factions had joined against the Shinto, there were not many chances of beating them. Since they had 3 beings in the upper part of the top 10. But the Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun and the universe, being the strongest of those 3 Shinto gods, occupying the position 2 of the strongest beings, being surpassed only by Ophis the Dragon of Infinity and Chaos the Mother of the Greeks, both being powerful entities in the top 1 of the strongest beings. Currently Naruto along with Yaruchi were about to begin a meeting in the Yokai territory of Kyoto. In this meeting was Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun and the universe, and Yusaka, the Yokai leader and the strongest Kaber. Though he believes since Kurama easily surpasses her, this meeting happened so easily since thanks to Yaruchi, Naruto was able to have an appointment with both faction leaders to tell them what happened with the Akasho. It is very interesting to meet the demon who rescued my cute kittens, commented Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun in the universe and one of the strongest entities in the world, occupying the top part of the strongest beings in the world. The Amaterasu, goddess of the sun in the universe, leader of the Shinto gods, the strongest Shinto goddess. I certainly didn't expect the one who saved the Nasho to be a child, Yusaka exclaimed with surprise in her voice since the child in front of her was no older than 10 years old. And that was surprising. Isaka, the leader of the Yokai, the queen of the Yokai. A pleasure to meet the goddess of the sun and the universe, Amaterasu, the strongest Shinto goddess. And it is also a pleasure to meet Yaka, the leader of the Yokai. I am quite impressed. It is clear that the rumors of her beauty and power are not false, since I feel an enormous power from both of them, especially in a Lady Amaterasu, said Naruto. With a small smile, but without ceasing to be formal since he did not want to screw up with the top 2. Irachi was somewhat surprised by Naruto's behavior, but she assumed he was like that because he didn't want to anger Amaterasu, who is a being that very few could match, let alone defeat. Amaterasu, you're so flattering. Kid, but putting games aside, it's best if you present yourself properly. It's time to do business, little demon. Naruto. Well, as you already know, I am Naruto Citri, and you are right. It is time to do business. As you already know, in Yoruchi's report, I was the masked man who saved the entire Nikisho clan. I saved the entire Yakai clan for two reasons. The first and main is that Kuroka-chan and Yoruchi-chan are Nakasho. Therefore, I saved the family of my friends. And the second reason is because I do not want the demon faction to go to war against the Yakai and the Shinto gods. Since everyone in this room knows well that your faction Amaterasu-sama along with the Hindu faction are the strongest and very close to you are the Greek faction and the Nordic faction. Both having two beings in the top 10. Amaterasu and Usaka opened their eyes in some surprise as demons are normally arrogant, but from what both leaders of their respective factions saw, Naruto Citri was a strange demon. Isaka Naruto Citri, you are a very interesting demon and I thank you for saving Yoruchi-chan and the entire Nakasho clan. I have a great debt with you and if you need anything just ask young Citri. A matter as I say the same little Citri from now on I am in debt to you young Citri and you do not have to worry if the Mayu discover that you saved the Nikisho I will offer you my protection since thanks to you my beloved kittens are alive. Naruto nodded although he doubted they would discover him. Ajuka and Serafall might suspect but they had no proof and he knew that his brother and Ajuka wouldn't betray him. Naruto. Perfect. Lady Amaterasu. Lady Usaka. And thank you for offering me your protection. I know I didn't leave evidence, so I don't think I have to worry, but anyway, thank you for the support you are giving me. Amaterasu and Usaka nodded while Yoruchi was somewhat impressed with how the negotiations were going. Yoruchi. Amaterasu-sama, lady. Wisaka wanted to ask you a favor. The Madrasu, Naruto, and Usaka raised an eyebrow in curiosity at what Yoruchi will order. Baruchi. My clan is still somewhat tense since we were attacked by the demons. The children are scared and do not want to leave the safe house that little Naruto gave us. They say they feel safe in that place. I know that they want me to return to Kyoto with my clan, but for now, I ask that I stay in the safe house for at least a couple of months. Until my clan feels safe. I Shimon, the goddess of speed, the strongest Nakasho. The Mad Rasu and Yosaka looked at each other with a small frown since they wanted the Nasho to return to Kyoto. But if the clan does not want it at the moment, they will accept it. The Nasho will still be in Japan, so there will be no problems. And soon the Nikiko would return. While in Naruto's case, he was not so surprised since Yoruchi had talked to him about that subject and he agreed because he wanted to protect his best friend's family. Isaka, what you're telling me, Chan, is a bit shocking, but it's understandable that your clan wants to stay at Naruto Dano's residence since they feel safe and protected because he saved them from being killed by those demons. The matter, even if you don't stay with Yaka-chan, I will offer you my protection as well as young Naruto. From now on, you can call me your ally. I can see something interesting in the eyes of the Citri boy. Naruto raised an eyebrow in some curiosity. Naruto. Well, Lady Amaterasu, according to what you were able to talk to my leaders, what day will you meet with the four Mayu? Amateru. Well, I will meet in a couple of weeks along with you Chan and I certainly hope that you Yoruchi-chan will accompany me to that meeting in Naruto K. You can also go if you wish. It will be interesting to see what face their leaders make if you go as one of my guards. Baruchi nodded as she would go with Amaterasu to meet with the leaders of the Underworld. Naruto. Unfortunately, I can't do that, Lady Amaterasu, for the moment. I want to remain anonymous. Also, my sister must be worried about my disappearance. So, I have to talk to her. Amaterasu, I understand. But before you go, I want to ask you a small favor. Citri. What I wish is to have a friendly battle with you since I feel an enormous power in you and I want to know how strong you are. If you manage to impress me, I will give you a territory which I will give you and I will give you my blessing. Isaka and Yoruchi opened their eyes in surprise and some fear in Yoruchi's case since she knew how strong the goddess of the sun in the universe was. And even though Naruto was strong, she knew that Amaterasu surpasses the young Citri in power and experience. Naruto frowned since he knew that he was not yet strong enough to defeat Amaterasu, and he knew well that the goddess of the sun and the universe was only curious to see his power. On the other hand, if he impressed her, he would get some resources that would benefit him and the blessing of the goddess of the sun and the universe, which would be very good for him since he knows that Arasu's flames, according to rumors, are comparable to those of the sun itself, and are so strong that not even beings like Office would come out unharmed from it. So he sighed and already made a decision. Naruto. Well, Lady Amaterasu, it would be interesting to measure my level with someone as strong as you. So, let's go to a place where we can release our power without harming others. Isaka and Yoruchi were somewhat worried and nervous since Amaterasu challenged Naruto and the young Citri accepted her challenge. Yoruchi knew that Naruto is strong, but not even he could give Amaterasu a battle. Amaterasu. Well, since you accepted, tomorrow we will fight little Citri. I will see your potential. I just hope you don't disappoint me. For now, I say goodbye. See you later. Yaka-chan, Yoruchi-chan, and Little Demon. After a matter said that she disappeared in a whirlwind of fire towards her faction, she had to talk to Susanoo and Tsukiyomi about the demon that caught her attention. Isaka. Well, I think it would be best if we retired. You will stay in the guest rooms, and Naruto, I wish you luck with the matter. Asus-sama. After saying that, Yaka left. But before that, she told the guards to take Naruto and Yoruchi to the guest rooms. The guard followed the order and took the two Mayu class beings to their rooms. Yuchi, are you sure you can fight Lady Amaterasu? She is ranked in the top 2 along with Lord Shiva. Both being existences that almost no being can defeat. I know you are strong, Naruto, but in terms of power, I know you cannot reach Amaterasu's level, so that was your motivation to be able to accept Lady Amaterasu's request. Naruto frowned. He didn't like that his friend distrusted his power. He knew he wasn't as strong as Amaterasu, but he was powerful enough to enter the top 10 of the strongest beings. Naruto, you don't have to worry, Yoruchi-chan, since I know that I will not be able to defeat the goddess of the sun in the universe. But at least I want to see what level 1 I'm at compared to her. If I can at least give her a decent fight, I will be happy since I will know that my training is paying off. Orochi frowned. She was worried about her little friend. She didn't want him to get hurt. After all, he saved his clan and is trying to save little Crutchy knew that Naruto was even stronger than the Mew, although almost no one knew it. She estimated that Naruto must be in the top 7 or 8 in terms of raw power. She just hoped that Amaterasu didn't harm Naruto in their fight. Boruchi. Well, Naruto, I trust you and I hope nothing bad happens in the fight against Lady Amaterasu. I will still be supporting you. I hope you put up a good fight against the strongest sun goddess. Meanwhile, in the territory of the Shinto faction, Amaterasu was meeting with her brothers since she wanted to explain to them what happened with the Nasho clan and tell them who was the one who saved her kittens. Susanoo. Well, sister, Tell me. What is happening with the Nasho and what measures will Waisaka take with what Susanoo? Susanoo no Makoto, god of the sea, storms and battles. Tsukiyomi. I agree with Susanoo that this is what happened and that they discussed with Waisaka declaring war on the demons because of what happened with the Nasho. Tsukiyomi no Makoto Diosa the Luna. The Mad Rasu, a simple young demon, saved the entire Nasho clan from the demons that attacked them. So there will be no war. Rather, I want you to accompany me tomorrow. I will have a duel with that child. I will prove how strong he is since I felt his power, and I will tell you that he is easily in the rank of the gods. Tsukiyomi and Susanoo opened their eyes in surprise and disbelief. But they were also curious since they did not know why a demon saved the Yakai clan and killed dozens of other demons. Now both gods were very interested in the little demon who saved the Nico. The Mad Rasu noticed her brothers' faces. So she told them how the meeting went and who the young demon was and the challenge he gave Naruto. Susanoo, what you're telling me is interesting, brother. Tomorrow will accompany you to the meeting, and if the boy managed to impress me, I'll also give him my blessing. The battle that will take place tomorrow will be very interesting. Tsukiyomi. Well, if the boy managed to impress me, I will also give him my full blessing. It is the least we can do. After that little demon saved the Nasho, so tomorrow I will accompany you Amaterasu elsewhere in Japan, more exactly in Naruto's safe house. Kurama was talking with Sifun, the second in command of the Nikisho clan. They were both somewhat worried about Naruto and Yoruichi since they received a message saying that Naruto was fighting Amaterasu, and they both knew that the goddess of the sun and the universe was immensely powerful, with that goddess being in the top 2 of the strongest beings in the world. So Kurama-sama, do you think Lady Yuchi and Lord Naruto are okay? Asked a second in command of the Nasho and a supreme class Yakai. Kurama sighed with some tiredness. He knew that Naruto is strong but has not yet reached his full potential. And he knew that the goddess of the sun and the universe is extremely powerful. Grandma girl, I know. Naruto will be fine. He'll just have a friendly fight with Lady Amaterasu. You have nothing to worry about. Naruto is strong. So nodded. She knew that Lady Yoruichi was strong, even stronger than some of the Mayu. And Lord Naruto was stronger than even the Mayu, according to Lady Yuchi. So she calmed down. She hoped they would come back soon. Pamas thought Naruto always getting into trouble. I just hope the battle with the strongest Shinto goddess doesn't kill you. I have to get stronger. Overcome my limits. My power may surpass those celestial dragons. But I know there are stronger beings. I have to get stronger to protect Naruto. Meanwhile, in the Underworld, the 4 are in an urgent meeting. Since the meeting with the Yakai leader and the leader of the Shinto gods is coming soon. Well, you know that it won't be long before we meet with Lady Isaka and Lady Amaterasu. Ajuka said seriously. Bilbilsub, Demon King, the Demon King of Creation. The 3 Mayu and Greya, who was next to them, gave a sigh of tiredness, and a chill ran through them at the mere mention of Amaterasu, since that woman was extremely strong. Hell, she was in the top 2. She alone was capable of fighting against the 4 Mayu and defeating them. We know it, and I'm worried about what will happen to Amaterasu-sama. Everyone knows that Amaterasu-sama is a goddess with honor and kindness, but at the same time, she is a sadistic and cruel goddess with her enemies and a lover of battles. But she was also a very overprotective woman with the Yakai, especially with the Akasho. And with what happened, she may want to destroy us, commented Serafall seriously, and with some nervousness, to face a matter of hell. She knew she would be reduced to ashes if she based a matter. She was the top 2. Almost no being could face her, let alone defeat her. Serafall, Demon King, the Demon Queen of Ice and water. The rest of the Mao frowned, and Greya said nothing, but she was somewhat worried about the consequences of the attack on the Nasho. The strongest queen knew that Amaterasu could destroy them. She just hoped that the meeting that would soon take place would be peaceful. This will be complicated. Let's just hope the negotiations go well. Besides, the Nakasho have not been killed since. It seems that the madman who took the cats massacred most of the demons that went to attack the Nasho, Surzich said with a frown, since hundreds of demons died in a cruel way. Surzich is Lucifer, Demon King, the Crimson Demon of Destruction. And we must be grateful that that boy massacred those demons that tried to attack the Nikasho. Because if the demons had killed the Nakasho, possibly Lady Yaka and Lady Amaterasu would declare war on us, said Falbium seriously, since he knew that if the massacre of the Yakai had occurred, the goddess of the sun would leave the underworld destroyed. Thalism, Demon King, the strategist of the underworld. Sarichas frowned, and the rest nodded at the words of their Mao companion. They knew well that a matter would burn down all of hell if they killed her kittens. Surzich's thoughts. I hate to agree with Falbium, but he's right. If the Nasho had been killed, the biggest problem would be that Amarasu would have destroyed us and the Shinto and Yakai would have declared war on us. By the way, Serafall and your younger brother, where is he? I haven't seen him in the last few days, Falbium commented somewhat curiously. Serafall frowned and gave a somewhat tired sigh. My brother is in the human world. He left recently, but he will return. You don't have to worry, Falbium-chan, said Serafall with a small smile. Albium nodded in understanding and didn't ask any more questions as he saw Serafall was somewhat uncomfortable and didn't want to upset her. But I'm leaving. I have some things to do, said Serafall. I'm leaving too if that's all. I have things to do, commented Ajuka. Since he wanted to ask what really happened with Naruto. He knew that Serafall had not completely told the truth. The others nodded and left with many thoughts, but the main one was that a matter does not turn them into ashes for the attempted murder of the Nasho. The Fermayu only hoped that the negotiations would go calmly. End of chapter. Chapter 6. The potential of the Ice Emperor. Currently Naruto, Citri, also known as the Ice Emperor, is somewhat excited since soon he will face Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun and the universe and the top two of the strongest beings. The young Citri knew that he would not win this battle, not for the moment. But he also wanted to test what level he is at compared to the strongest sun goddess. And the same was happening with Amaterasu. She wanted to see the full potential of the child Citri who saved her kittens from being massacred by demons. So the goddess of the sun and the universe would test the power of the child Citri but would not kill him since she liked him after all, except a Yaokai clan from being massacred. And that was fine in her books. On the other hand, the fight would be being watched by the highest ranking gods of the Shinto faction as well as Yusaka and Uruchi, since they also wanted to see how well Naruto would do against the strongest sun goddess. Well, go to a place where we can fight more easily. And don't worry, give it your all since I'll go with everything, little Citriasu said seriously. I'm not going to hold back. It will be interesting to fight the strongest sun goddess, Naruto replied with a small smile. You're interesting, little demon, but it's time to stop talking and give it our all in our little battle, little Citri. So follow me to the ring I set up so we can fight peacefully, Amaterasu said and ordered. Naruto nodded and followed the goddess of the sun and the universe to a large door that impressed him. And when he entered, he saw a gigantic ring and noticed that outside the ring there were strong barriers that he supposed to withstand his power. The Citri was impressed by the barriers since he realized that they could easily contain a Satan-like